Hola friends, welcome to the Medicine, Marriage, and Money YouTube channel, the only channel for physicians who want to achieve marital interdependence and financial freedom together. On this channel, you will learn how to show up as the best version of yourself so that you can love intentionally and build a more financially savvy relationship with your spouse. And I am your host, a physician mom, a doctor's wife, a Gottman leader, a certified life and marriage coach, Dr. Kate Mangona. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Hello, my sweet friends. Welcome to another episode of Medicine, Marriage, and Money. Oh man, it has been a whirlwind weekend, and I am a little bit delayed with this episode, so thank you for waiting. As those of you who follow me on social media know, we were traveling, my husband and I, with all three girls to go visit Nana and Poppy in Kansas City, and mainly we decided to come because it was one of my best friends' third baby's sprinkle. So as in third baby, it just means a very, very small group of 4 girls get together and do a bunch of fun stuff like paint our nails. And if you could see me, you can see my beautiful nails, go out to dinner, make arts and crafts, and do fun stuff like that. However, in the middle of that, my middle daughter got extremely sick and had to be hospitalized. And I had come prepared for what I thought was everything, right? But I did not come prepared for that. And so what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about traveling with littles and traveling specifically also with your spouse and littles. It can be difficult. It poses different challenges when you're traveling with your spouse and littles and when you're traveling alone in your littles, regardless of the number, right? Traveling with one can be very difficult and challenging in its own ways, as with 2, 3, and so on. And sometimes I would say when you have, I would say there's pros and cons to both traveling with somebody else and with your spouse and without your spouse. When you're with your spouse, you each are going to have your own opinions about how to do things, your own parenting styles. There's just two different personalities, right, in the mix. And we all know we're here to work on our marriages every day. Now, when you're traveling alone, you've got 2 hands only. And you may have a very strong toddler. You may have an irritable preteen. You may have twins. You may have a lot going on. So what I wanted to give you was my 5 top travel tips. Knowing that I'm going to give you these top 5 travel tips, anything could change, right? These tips are meant to be flexible. They're meant to go with your plan and be altered, right? They're not rigid. And they're very helpful if you're traveling with your spouse. Even if you're traveling without your spouse and your spouse wants you to do something a certain way, or you want to maybe you want your spouse to do something a certain way. So let me just briefly overview these 5 tips and then I'll go into the details. So tip 1 is it's never about the destination. And I could say that's been extremely true for every trip I've been on, including the current one. We thought we were going to be at Nana and Poppy's house for 4 nights, 4 or 5 nights. And it turns out 2 of those nights we were in the hospital. And not the whole family, but we were all separated at different times, different people with different groups. Couple of people, at the swimming pool, a couple of people in the urgent care, then several people in the hospital. It was like back and forth, right? It's really never about the destination. It's about the journey, and I'll get into that. Number 2, in the blink of an eye, emotions can fly. And that is always true. Okay. Anytime you have yourself, right? Maybe you're a very deeply feeling emotional person like I am. Maybe you're married to one. Maybe you birthed some. In the blink of an eye, emotions will fly. We'll get into that. And then number 3, forgiveness and self-compassion are key. Forgiveness and self-compassion are key. We're going to get into that. Number 4, give everyone the benefit of the doubt. This is a truth I've found in life and has served me well in my marriage, with my in-laws, with my parents, with my best friends, with my coworkers, everybody. Like basically every human being I've come into contact with at the hospital, with the nurses I encountered, with the vascular access team, with everything, right? Because if you've ever been in the hospital, most of us have worked in the hospital, if you're listening to this, there's a lot of inefficiencies in medicine. The way an engineer brain thinks and gets things done is not the way things are done in the hospital. It's not. And the checks and balances we have, I'm sure you've heard of the Swiss cheese model. Sometimes things just fall through the cracks. All the holes line up. Okay. And nobody checks the IV line right next to the fluid to see that was kinked. They're checking the arm. They're checking inside. They're adjusting. They're pushing. They're pulling. They're injecting. They're putting in a new IV. And then finally, we go and we check that line right there at the very top next to the fluid where we never even thought to check. That's where the kink was. And we went through this whole rigmarole. New burrito wrapped my 4-year-old, stuck her again, shrieks and screams, right? Did I want to blame some people in that room? Yes. Did I give them the benefit of the doubt? Yes. Why? Because it's lighter, it's easier. In my last client coaching session, they have learned to do this beautifully. They've said their marriage is so much lighter. They now find it a place of peace and solace. Other things that used to be more difficult outside of their marriage are now don't even faze them. They're like, welcome struggles, welcome painful encounters at work. My marriage is good. My marriage is solid. So I can do anything outside of this. That is giving. And they didn't get there, and I didn't get there in that hospital room until I have given those people I wanted to blame the benefit of the doubt. You may be feeling the same thing sometimes with your spouse. Then number 5, carry bags of Skittles and hand them out to all the people who help you. And I got this from my very dear friend, Vina Jetty. So let's go back to number 1 and explain a little bit about why it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. If you can learn to enjoy the journey, if you can learn to make tiny adjustments along the way to find happiness, joy, more calm, even amidst the chaos, even amidst the pain, even amidst the struggles, if you can enjoy that journey, the destination becomes wherever you are. Wherever you are. And then what if you never make it to the destination? What if you make it to the destination, it's not what you thought? What if you make it to the destination, all of a sudden you have to go 5 steps backwards before you go forwards again? This was certainly true this weekend, going in and out of the hospital, to urgent care, to the swimming pool with different kids, okay, going to meet with my girlfriends that I had promised that I was coming for the past 9 months, while somebody else, my husband, was with my baby Cata for those handful of hours. The destination never lasts forever. So if it's about the journey, you will find infinite peace. You can be infinitely present on the journey and never infinitely present in the destination. So if you can imagine this, you can create it. Okay, on the plane, on the train, on the bus, right? Number 2, in the blink of the eye, emotions can fly. This starts from the moment we leave our house, before packing, when we're in the car on the way to the airport, when we're on the airplane, especially installing the car seats or the little travel TSA seats we have buckles we have for our 5-year-old, our baby Pico for our 4-year-old. My lap child eventually ended up getting her own seat because nobody wanted to sit next to me, which is totally okay. I got crazy, rambunctious kids. So next time your toddler flings themselves onto the floor, your 7-year-old, 8, 9, 10-year-old rolls their eyes at you. I've got a 5-year-old who rolls her eyes. Repeat after me. Place your hand on your chest. This is normal and expected. The next time their emotions go raging, they start screaming, crying, people are darting eyes at you, hand on your chest. This is normal and expected. Little people are meant to have big emotions. And I myself have big emotions. We were a big emotion household. So that's number 2. If you can accept that, you can live it. Number 3, forgiveness and self-compassion are key. Now, you may think that sounds a little cliche, well, forgiveness and self-compassion, but forgiveness is hard, right? When we forgive, we think maybe we're supposed to forget, which isn't true. And when we forgive, maybe we think that we're saying that the other person was right, which is not always true, right? And does it matter if somebody's right and wrong? Some of you guys are saying yes. Some of you are saying, well, my spouse thinks that way. We may do things or say things that we're not proud of when we're in stressful situations like traveling with little kids or preteen kids or teenagers, whatever it might be. We might find themselves touching the airport bathroom while we're trying to go tinkle. Maybe they're creating waterfalls of French fries and applesauce. It's going everywhere. You only packed 2 pair of clothes, and the second pair of clothes you put on them, it's already got applesauce and ketchup all over it. Okay, so we may say things in the heat of the moment. We may act some way we don't really want to act. And guess what? We can forgive ourselves for that. And what I'm also hoping you do is forgive your spouse. Recognize they are human just like you. Even if they were to say something you would never say or do something you would never do, guess what? You didn't marry yourself. They're a different person. They have a different background. They have different emotions and feelings in their brain that they're not telling you all the time. So as parents, we forget that sometimes our spouse and I, we are on the same team. We think we're on different teams when we're in the middle of an extremely stressful situation and we think they're trying to make our life more difficult. Or maybe we're just believing that they're making our life more difficult and don't actually think they're trying to, but it's just like, that's the reality sometimes. It may seem true when it's not a fact. So remember, you are on the same team with your spouse. You may exchange fits of emotion, uncalculated words. This is normal. This is normal. It's expected. Accept it. Give yourself what you need in that moment. Maybe it's some kind words. Maybe it's hand on your heart. Maybe it's a drink of water or Sprite, coffee. Forgive everyone and move forward. There is no sense in moving backwards. Move forward. Unless we're going to actually learn something from recounting those past words, those past actions. And we could maybe learn something for ourselves before we even discuss it with our spouse, if it needs to be discussed, which is a different conversation. So forgiveness, self-compassion, move forward. And then give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I went over this already with the nurse situation, the vascular access team situation. You never know what has happened to somebody earlier that day, earlier that week, earlier that month, maybe even that year. Maybe they're grieving the loss of someone. Maybe they're grieving the loss of a former job. Maybe their boss reprimanded them. You never know what happened. Sometimes your spouse won't tell you, and sometimes you're not ready to listen. So we just don't know the hardships other people carry, the emotions they feel. If we can just come to an understanding of that, you'll be closer to giving them the benefit of the doubt. So try that. And then if you can't figure it out, it's time to sign up for a discovery call with me, or just come talk to me, or write me, message me on Facebook, Instagram. We'll talk about it. And then number 5, lastly, and I got this from my friend Vina Jetty when we were going on a trip with her twins several months ago, almost a year ago. And she bought a bunch of chocolates from the gift shop, the airport shop. And she handed them out to all the airlines people who worked in the front of the plane, the back of the plane, before we all got situated. And I will tell you, it didn't help the way we thought it would. I think the lady who got mad at us that one time didn't get the candy. So I did that. I bought a whole bunch of Skittles because I thought they would be easier to travel with than chocolate in the heat. And I handed them out. They were so thankful. They were so moved. And luckily, I didn't really ever need to ask for help. Like, it was a pretty smooth flying trip. There was so much turbulence that everybody stayed in their seats. Nobody came to hand out anything to drink or eat. But you know what? That smile that it put on the airline, I forget what you call them. You don't call them stewardess anymore, right? You call them airline staff. I don't even know. I handed it to a lady, and then she handed it to this guy in the back who was making those silly, funny announcements like the Southwest people do. And they just were like, "This is for me. Thank you." It was just like their smile made me smile, made me more calm, made me more accepting of what else was going on. And yes, it did take us several minutes to get our kids situated. We had way too many bags. I have a tendency to overpack. We had installed the two car seats, and I was no help to Victor because I was holding Isla, who was going crazy, my 22-month-old, while he was doing the 2 car seats. So do those 5 things, and I'm just going to reiterate them again. Think of it about the journey, never about the destination. And that way you can be infinitely present wherever you are, because you'll always be on that journey. The destination becomes the journey, always moving, right? Flexible. Number 2, in the blink of the eye, emotions will fly. Number 3, forgiveness and self-compassion. Remember, it starts with yourself. If you cannot forgive yourself, if you cannot have self-compassion for yourself, you can't reciprocate. You can't duplicate it. I would say you can't put it onto somebody else. You can't forgive or have self-compassion for your spouse. So do it for yourself first. Practice. And it's hard for those of us in the medical field. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Number 4, give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And number 5, carry bags of Skittles or candy or fun prizes and hand them out to people who don't expect it. And you may be surprised. And with that, I want to thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for your patience. Being in and out of the hospital was definitely something we didn't expect on this destination of Kansas City, going to Children's Mercy. Thank you all. If you have ever worked at Children's Mercy, thank you. Any hospital, again, we don't thank you enough. If you're a nurse, if you're a physician, if you're a respiratory therapist, if you're a resident, a medical student, a trainee of any kind listening to this right now, thank you. Medical transport team made me cry. They were so nice. They told me they would treat my daughter like she was their own. For everybody who sent texts and calls and messages and rainbow unicorns. Oh my gosh. That was like the bag of Skittle. So please go on your trips this summer. I know this is going to be important for every single one of you. So most of you have trips planned for June, July, August, September, and then so on. Maybe summer camps. Use these, even if it's traveling to the zoo, even if it's traveling down the block on your bike, right? All of these are so helpful in your day-to-day life because you are always on your journey. Thank you so much, friends, for listening. And please share this with somebody who might need to hear it. I would love it if you even did a little journaling about how you could take these 5 tips and put them into practice now or plan forward, right? So what's your next trip? Is it going to be Disneyland, Disney World, a cruise, Nana's or Poppy's, Grandma, Grandpa's house? Where are you going this summer? The beach, the mountains? Figure out, write down these 5 things. It's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. In the blink of an eye, emotions will fly. Forgiveness and self-compassion are key. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt and carry bags of Skittles to hand out and make new friends. All those 5, write them down. Figure out how you're going to remind yourself you're going to do those and move yourself forward in your journey. Please share, spread the love. So much love to you and your spouse. Bye-bye. If you are finding the concepts I teach in these episodes useful and want more in-depth and personalized support for your relationship, consider this your invitation to join me in creating the most connected and intimate relationship with your spouse that you could dream of. Go to www.medicinemarriageandmoney.com right now and download my 18-page medical marriage survival guide and workbook at no cost to you. I also have a 6-day marriage challenge, which goes over the 6 predictors of divorce at no cost to you. These have been known to decrease fighting, rumination, and grudges between you and your loved one. If you want to take it a step farther, really enhance the joy and connection in the most intimate relationship in your life, sign up for my 8-week Making Marriage Work program today at medicinemarriageandmoney.com. Thanks for leaving us a stellar review, subscribing, and sharing with your friends on social media. You have the power to improve someone else's life and marriage simply by sharing this episode. Much love to you and your spouse. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment. Adios, my friends. The content of this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional, medical, or financial advice. The opinions provided on this episode are those of myself or the invited guest alone. They do not represent the opinions of any particular institution. Always seek the advice of your physician or financial advisor with any questions you may have of a medical condition or financial plan. This is for your entertainment only.